Hello Soundies. Today I'm going to do a little clip about how to use the sampler to collect Foley sounds, action sounds like footsteps, doorbells, door knocks, and to lay them individually on individual keys on the sampler for use in sound to picture work. So what I've done, I've decided to collect some footsteps. As you can see, let me just play some back. So that's leather shoes, gritty cement, and leather shoes, wet cement, and I've got slow walking, fast walking, kind of scrapes, running upstairs, a few jumpy things. This is a hardwood. Nice, lots of scrapes and things like that. Okay, so let's do this one here. So I mean, all I basically did was I dragged. Let me show you. Let me see. I've got one here to do. Here we are. Here's leather shoes gravel, which I've imported in. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my scissors. I never use the first four. So 1, 2. 5, 6. Always go on even numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, or odd numbers, because you don't want to start with the wrong foot. So it's after 4 I've copied or I've cut these 4. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to zoom in and I'm going to tweak it up. So I'm moving them to as close to the beginning as possible, because remember, a sampler will play the clip, and if there's only silence at the beginning of the clip, it'll only play the silence, and you want the sound to come in the instant you hit the keyboard, the key on the keyboard. So there we are. So I've got done those. I might select them all and trim them down a little bit, like so. Okay, so, oh, by the way, I got all these sound effects from the FFS Foley footsteps. So all of those, I just dragged all of those onto the timeline. I just highlighted them, dragged them directly on actually, and then put them all on one single track so that I could do them in a linear fashion. So I've done my slow ones, so I'm going to do my fast ones. So here they are. And again, I never use the first few. I don't know why. So I'm just going to chop, 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 chop. And I tend to have about 6. And the reason I do that is because there's variation in walking. You can't have just 2 because you would start to notice it then. So I'm just going to zoom out a bit. I've chopped those quite close. So there we go. And look how much this lasts until. So I'm going to individually trim these down. Like so. I might leave that last little bit there, and that little bit there. So there are my slow footsteps. And so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to gather those and drag them over to where these are. Because I've sliced them, every single sound will provide its own, will be given its own key. If it was just one file like that, then one key would trigger all of these sounds. So what I've got here, I've got okay, I like those. Those are the scrapey sounds. Always see if you can get some scrapey sounds when somebody stops and pauses and turns. You'll need to have a little bit of a scrapey sound. We were missing a scrapey sound in the door, I think. I should have emphasized that at the time. You notice that they're all highlighted, so I'm actually trimming. The first time I trim, I sort of trim them all up a little bit at the same time. and then I do a final little tweak, like so. There we go. Any others? I think, oh, on grass, that would have been handy for the door, wouldn't it? Running up that hill. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Slice 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, as I was saying, rather than just have one set, I always have at least 4. 4 if it's a kind of a sound effect that's, you know, not likely to be used very much. But here we go. I'm just dragging all those up. The hardest part of this whole thing is actually collating them all in one spot. So here we go. These are all the ones. These are the scrapey sounds. There we go. And now I'm just going to move those a bit closer in. Okay, so let's just trim these up a little bit. I'm not actually going to shorten these because there'll be a bit, because look at all that noise there. So something's happening, and I'll have to do a little fade out for each one of these in the sampler. There we go, that's pretty good. Actually, I will trim them down, just the merest hint. Okay. And we'll move those, well, there they all are. So here are my walking on gravel footsteps. Okay, so those are identical to the collections I've already done here. So I may as well use this one to demonstrate. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to highlight and I'm going to drag it down to where it says drag regions here to create instrument tracks. So I'm going to drag it and I'm going to select chromatic map. And now it's reading individually all of those sound effects, all of those individual sounds. And there we go. There we have them. So if I play, there we have it. So from C1 all the way up to A2. So C1 is the first C in the octave. Now, I've got an 88 note keyboard. I don't know if you can see, there it is, down there. So I could put a whole pile of samples all on that. But you guys, and often me, if I'm honest, will be using the small little octave ones. So it makes sense to do a separate instrument for the different type. So these are all leather shoes on different surfaces. And leather shoes is, you know, leather shoes and sneakers and high heels, I would say, would be the 3 types in order to create a library of, or a collection of Foley samples. So anyway, we've got to do individual things to these samples now. So I'm on zone. Well, it's automatic. This is what you get, the default site. I'm just going to move my mic a little bit out of the way. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start at C1 and I'm going to trim that to the very beginning, and this one up here I'm going to do a little fade down, and I'm going to make sure that the one shot is switched on so that it plays it all the way through, even if I take my finger off. And I'm just going to repeat that. I'm just going to trim and fade out onto the next key. I'll fast forward this bit. And that's it. So oh, I forgot to put the one shot on that. There we go. Okay, so once that's done, you need to save it. There's nothing else you need to do on here. Synth, you can either tune everything up or down, and you can do that depending on context later on when you're actually doing the sound to picture piece. So the first thing I would do, I would go to save. As, there we go. And I would call it, what is it? Leather shoes on gravel. There we go. And it's in the sampler instruments. It's contained within Logic. And there we have it. And if I click on here, leather shoes on gravel. I've already done one on clean cement. I did that to practice, as you can see. Now that's all well and good. Well, let's try the leather cement one. So there we go. Let's try. There we go. So on and so forth. It's all very well if you've got your own version of Logic on your own Mac, but if you don't, and you might not be on the same Mac in subsequent weeks, then go to here, and this actually, truth is, it's always a good idea to do this anyway, even if you do have your own Mac, and just go save a copy as, and then navigate to a specific folder, and I should have one here called Sampler Instruments. Was it on this one? Maybe it was this one. Sampler Instruments SFX. Open it up. Except I don't want to save that one. I'm on the wrong one. So I want to go back to leather shoes and gravel. There we go. So save a copy as practical research, sampler instruments. There's my clean cement, leather shoes on gravel. Save a copy with audio data. So that way it's actually saving the audio as well as the presets. I don't know why they would give you the option to just save the presets and not the audio, but there we go. So leather shoes on gravel, leather shoes on clean cement. So let's give it a try, shall we? So let me find, do I have a little movie that I can just open up? Open movie. Sorry, I'll fast forwarded that whole bit where I couldn't find the damn film. But it tells me that it's a 30 frames per second film, so I'm going to use 30 FPS. This is a film called The Balloon, which I've used for some time now. So let's see if we can do some footsteps for this girl here walking in this strange world. Now I'm going to have it on cement because I can't be bothered to put the hard floor one in this second. I just want to demonstrate. So there we go. Here she is. So I'm going to mute these. Let's mute these. This one and this one. I don't want this stuff playing, obviously. We're just going to use this. So I'm going to go here. Let's find my footsteps. Okay, so let's make this a bit smaller so I can see what the hell I'm doing. There we go. I have a bit of a run in. That was all over the place. But there we go. Here they are. So I can go onto my timeline. Here we are. Let's go back here. And let's move that. I can move it. There's the first footstep there. Let's move this one next. There we go. There we are. About there. Really the wrong sound, but I'm just going to do these bits because it could go forever. It's a bit late. And there we go. That's a bit quiet. In fact, I'm going to go to my velocity tool here. Let's take this up to about approximately the same kind of green as those, but I'm going to take them all down because he's a light-footed person. And also, well, let's just play it through. You get the idea. But she's a little girl, and I think these are grown-up sounds. I'm going to go into my leather chew cement, and I'm going to tune it up a little bit so they're a bit higher. At this point, if I was doing this for real, and I was happy with those, I would save this as Girl Walk or something specific. Well, maybe I would. Okay, and of course we need to place her in the environment, so let's add a bit of reverb, bit of space designer. She's in a big old space, so large space, hall. Let's have a let's have a dark rising hall. Very apt. So let's just see what that sounds like. It might be a little bit too big, actually. Let's have something. Let's try Dream Hall. That's nice. Take it down a bit. Take some of the dry out. Bit over the top, but you get the idea. Even I didn't bother treating the other ones, but you get the idea. Really effective. And finally, if you're happy with those, I'm not, but if you are, and you don't want then to always be using the sampler, you could add them to the loop library. You can bounce region in place. There we go. Leather shoes, clean cement. We can call it Girl Walking. New track. Okay, boom. And there it is. That's already muted. So let's play that back now as the audio file. Digital technology, isn't it fantastic? Okay, so endeth this lesson, but I do recommend that you start building up sampler libraries of sound effects. You can do it with atmospheric effects as well, because at the end of the day, you can put it down, get it just right, it sounds nice, and then you can bounce it in place and turn it into an audio file. Also, when you go on location, you'll have the opportunity to record close-up sound effects. I call it live Foley, not so much live Foley, production Foley. So if there's a shot of a long shot in the corridor of somebody knocking the door, then you'll be recording that from the position of the camera. But then afterwards, just go up with the location recorder, get the mic up close, and then just repeat the action, so that you can lay that down in post-production for the film, and you can plonk it onto the sampler. So all of your production sounds that you decide to keep, the ones like, you might have very bespoke type of footsteps. You might just say, can I just record you walking just a bit, so I can just record the footsteps so that I can then lay them down properly from close perspective. So there's all kinds of things that you can do to prepare. Once you've done your filming, even before, once you've got the finalized script, you can see, well, he's walking here and he's going to be walking on that, or she, and so you can prepare before you even get the picture lock of the film. Okay, so have a cup of tea.